We've just spent the last few days increasingly bemused by this Sydney Swans scandal, watching it unfold with pylon after pylon, meltdown after meltdown from people pretending to be outraged over something that they clearly believe is actually nothing. Now, let me explain. We don't believe it's nothing. We are against prostitution and stripping and sex work and the objectification of women's bodies in this way, all of it, right? But these people on the left who are just so angry at the Sydney Swans, without actually going into explicit detail because they can't, they love prostitution. They think it's empowering to women's bodies. So why are they jumping on the Swans so hard? What is this really about and what is their agenda? Let's find out. That's today on the Dr. Joe Show. We have a rally on September 15. It is a massive opportunity to protect babies in New South Wales outside the Parliament at 6 p.m. Our first chance to pass this pro-life bill this term of Parliament. Join us September 15, details in the chat below. Now, if you're new here, please do subscribe to the channel. Today, we're going to take on this Sydney Swans scandal that has been unfolding and dominating media headlines for at least the past week now. What has emerged very clearly to us and become very apparent is that this isn't actually genuine outrage at what these five men did. There's something much deeper going on here. And you laugh?
Oh, I just think it's funny. Like this whole thing, watching this whole thing unwind has just been, it's just an absolute circus. The main thing that stands out to me as you're talking right now is the fact that everyone is finding everyone has their own little pet angle on this to be outraged about. Yeah. You know, some people are like, it's because they had girlfriends at home. Then someone else is like, it's because drugs were involved. Someone else is like, it's because they were up late. And no one can really decide what they actually did that was terrible. And of course, some people will come with the angle of, somebody said it was sexual assault.
Yeah.
But we'll talk more about that one very soon.
And for the record up front, we are against stripping. We're against prostitution. We don't think that you can just call it sex work and it becomes work like any other work. We think there's something inherently exploitative, derogatory, degrading when women go into this, well, I don't even call it work, but this exploitation where they're selling their bodies, they're stripping, they're taking off their clothes, they're doing lap dances, they're having sex for money. Just because money exchanges hands doesn't transform it from inherently exploitative to suddenly okay.
And so we know why we think it was wrong. Why was it wrong?
Yeah, we think it was wrong for the five Sydney Swans players to have strippers in their room because that is abusive and derogatory and degrading to those women. They shouldn't be doing it in the first place and the men shouldn't be bringing them into their rooms.
And have you heard the media making similar points?
No, the media is tying itself up into knots, trying to explain why this is wrong. By
the way, I just want to make the point, the media, as far as I'm concerned, what the Sydney Swans players did, according to the media, is it. They did it.
Yeah.
It is unacceptable. I just cannot believe it happened.
And the standard you walk past is the standard you accept.
Yeah, and the Swans have guidelines against it happening. And I'm just sitting there going, what is it? What happened? What is the thing that everyone's outraged about? Because I am telling you right now, I've watched a lot of stuff about this. I still can't figure out what people are actually upset about.
It's actually in the fine print. If you go through just a handful of articles in the fine print, get to some specificity, because the entire week...
But none of them agree on what actually the bad thing was that happened.
No, and nearly every single social media and media piece about this talks about it as sexual assault allegations. But if you actually look at what has been alleged, it is this. So I'll just read it to you. So it's understood a gathering was held in one of the hotel's largest suites where two exotic dancers were booked just after 4 a.m. Some reports suggest 3 women were present in the room. Even that, the exotic dancers, they don't want to call them strippers. They're strippers.
Yeah.
They're trying to make it sound like
prostitutes, really.
Yeah, they're trying to make it sound like this is a profession, like they're just two exotic dancers, like they're just dancing.
Which is really above board.
Yeah.
We're really pro-sex work. Yeah. It's really empowering for women, you know.
Yeah.
Or...
They don't want to say
or not, because when men actually use the service... this like empowering, sex work, then those men are worse than like a piece of dog poo on the bottom of your shoe. But anyway, carry on.
So there have been several different alleged accounts of events in the room, but one Daily Telegraph source claimed trouble began when the men paid to slap the women's buttocks. The situation escalated, according to the source, when a dancer was allegedly slapped 4 times, not the agreed 3 strikes. So it took us almost a week to get that level of specificity.
Shocking. This shocking detail. So, I mean...
At which point these men had been completely trashed and cancelled from the public square.
So, all right, so the sexual assault that we have heard about from everyone, and we're going to play a few of these clips, what the sexual assault essentially has boiled down to is one of these strippers believes that her buttocks is worth X amount for 3 slaps, right? And
how much do you think it costs to
what's that?
Smack a butt?
Well, let's just say she thought that like...
Maybe it's $150 or something.
Yeah, maybe she thought that like her butt was worth $80 for 4 slaps.
Well, maybe
or maybe she thought that
I think it'd be worth more than that. Maybe she's...
No, just for the butt slaps. Maybe she thought, my butt... Personally, I usually charge...
No, there's a going rate for butt slaps.
Okay, fine. No. Just bear with me.
Okay.
So she says my butt is worth $80 for 4 slaps.
It's still too cheap, darling.
Okay.
You need to raise the price.
But just...
I know I'm missing the point, but I just think for the thought experiment, let's make it like $150 a butt slap. So she was entitled
There's
to...
no way that it was $150 a butt slap.
How do you know?
I really don't think
you don't think
that's
you get
true.
that much money for a butt slap?
I don't I'm not an expert in this field, but I'm telling you, there's no way that even these stupid players were not paying $150 a butt slap. But let's just say, can you just let me do my freaking enough? So she's accustomed to a certain amount of money for butt slaps. So let's just say she's accustomed to $80. They paid $60, which means the first 3 butt slaps were fine, but then the 4th one is basically rape.
Yeah.
And so, and if you don't agree with that, then you also are basically a rapist yourself.
Well, according to her lawyer...
Like if that's not sexual assault, then, what is?
So according to her lawyer, John Carant is from Carbone Lawyers, he said this is the most disgusting and degrading thing he has heard of in his nearly 3 decades on the job. Now, it's his job to amp this up. This has to be a trial by media for him. He gets paid by the damages bill payout that the Swans are ultimately going to pay. Police haven't laid criminal charges. We don't know if they will. It's not looking likely. So they're going to, these women lead lawyers who are going to pursue for damages for psychiatric injury, and suffering and therefore economic loss. And it could be in the millions because of the reputations of the club who have already bent the knee in all of this. So it's in their interests to make this sound a lot bigger than just 1 extra butt slap.
So, but still... What happened in the hotel room was the most disgusting and degrading thing he had heard of in his nearly 3 decades on the job. The unpaid butt slap.
Presumably he's represented women who've actually been guilty,
or underpaid.
victims of rape.
I would also just potentially call it an underpaid butt slap because she could just take a lower rate per slap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be equally acceptable.
When we set out to do a podcast, I never thought we would be discussing butt slaps and the going rate.
Yeah. But can you just imagine, this is not sexual assault. What I find crazy is that all of these leftists are happy to go along with the narrative that this is sexual assault. Like someone just not paying enough for their butt slap. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? That's not sexual assault. Can you imagine being a woman who's actually gone through sexual assault, listening to this whole thing and being like, oh, so what I went through is basically the same thing as a prostitute not getting paid enough by a client or not getting paid her normal going rate. Mm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She just didn't get paid how much she usually gets paid. And that's the same as me being raped apparently now.
Yep.
What the hell?
Yeah.
It's so insane. And then for this guy to say this is the most disgusting and degrading thing that he has heard in nearly 3 decades on the job. What has he been involved? Do you think he's just mostly been doing contracts and or?
I think he's a
real estate law or something. What?
Personal injury lawyer. So presumably he's experienced this before.
He mustn't have seen much business.
But look, the reason for this is because it's in their interest to trump this up, and there's a wider agenda at play. So the lawyers just want money. But for the media and for the leftist establishment, what do they want? Well, let's have a look at this headline in the Herald Sun. This is by Jay Clark. This is much bigger and far more concerning than the fate of football teams' premiership campaign. Sure, simply violence against women happens far too often.
When did violence against women happen here? This is insane. This is something we keep on seeing is people referencing violence against women in connection to this. To some men hiring a stripper or a few strippers, which, by the way, all of these leftists really love.
Yep.
Like they love prostitution. They're always talking about it.
Well, talking about someone who loves prostitution, let's go to the Governor General. Now, she shouldn't really be intervening in this kind of thing. She's the bloody head of state and it's not her job to get political. But here she is. She's shocked and troubled by the Swans' sexual assault allegations. And she's been quoted in the media as saying, sadly, the lack of respect for women across the country remains an issue for all of us to be concerned about, particularly in sport. I note Australia still has the appalling statistics when it comes to domestic and sexual violence against women. So Sam Mostyn has straight away linked these 5 Swans clubs hiring strippers and, you know...
5 Swans players.
Swans players, you know, getting a lap dance, which obviously we think is disgusting, but she shouldn't because she's a patron for Equality Australia, which is one of the organisations that pushes prostitution. They don't want it to be criminalised. They want prostitution to be treated just like any other work and all of the regulation around it. They want it to remove. They work with, you know, sex work groups like Scarlet Alliance that are just pushing prostitution. And she's the patron of that organisation. So these people just want to push it as much as they can. You know, this big media organisation called You Should Care About It. It's like an independent one online that has millions of followers. They've quoted this pro-abortion leftist, Cheryl Moody, Femicide Watch. Her whole shtick is about violence against women. So they're all like salivating at the mouth at all of this. And look at this story post. They've written 1 week in Australia. 1 in 3 Oz boys believe gender equality has gone too far. Another Sydney private school alleged rape scandal. 3 boys accused of 3-hour-long gang sex attack. Sydney Swans will sanction players for serious breach over incident that led to sexual assault allegations. 3 Scots College students charged with sexual assault. 2 Perth men jailed for raping 14-year-old girl. Yeah,
they've put it on the same sphere as like the same plane as like. So these Swans players having like paying less than the going rate for butt slaps.
Yep.
Is the same. It's on the same plane as 2 Perth men who have been jailed for raping a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And by the way, these guys haven't even been charged by the police. So when the Governor General says that she's shocked and troubled by the Swans sexual assault allegation, she's talking about something that the police didn't even charge anyone. The police don't agree that there was a sexual assault.
At this point, they don't.
No, the police don't think so. There's no evidence that there has been a sexual assault. There's no evidence that there was any sexual violence. Why are people like accusing these guys of something that there's no evidence that they did?
Yep.
What's going on here?
So the leftist feminist establishment is piling on and there's a reason for them to do it. Like, what is the goal? What are they trying to achieve? And why are they going for this? I think we're going to get to that because we've actually got some clear footage from the ABC and a couple of other places which indicates that they actually say the quiet part out loud. So we're going to get to that at the end of the episode. But let's just stay here for a minute. The policing of language and their media tying itself into knots to try and make it out like these guys have raped these women. Like that's what they're trying to do. Like they don't want to say it because they know that it's a defamation lawsuit, but they're trying to make it sound so bad. So let's have a look at Hannah Ferguson, who's a darling of the left. And Cheek Media, multiple Sydney Swans players are being investigated for alleged sexual assault. She's in fine form in this, lecturing us all on how we're meant to think and
just
speak.
For something different.
Yeah.
We know today that several Sydney Swans players have been involved in an alleged sexual assault that occurred last night in Melbourne's East. The CEO of the Sydney Swans has come out this afternoon and said that he's extremely shocked and disappointed, but he used the words that the players have found themselves in this situation. Now, when we're seeing a criminal investigation unfold, it's really important to use considered, responsible, appropriate language when describing what we know to date. And I think it's important too, when being critical of the language that's being used, that we understand, okay, well, what do we expect from our community leaders in the AFL, from the men who are the heads of these teams, and what do we expect from the mastheads reporting on it? We should expect the media to say alleged sexual assault, not incident, when reporting on this. Sexual and physical violence against women and children is an epidemic in this country.
She is so insufferable.
Yeah.
She is such a moron, and she's so irritating.
Yeah.
This is a woman, by the way, who said that Charlie Kirk's murder was justified because he was on the right.
Yeah.
You know, like, she actually used that word, justified. She said he justified his own murder by his, like, political views, basically.
Yeah.
And she's lecturing us now, saying you have to call this sexual assault before these guys have been charged, right?
Yeah.
So, in other words, you have to go out and use a term that is more likely to destroy these people's reputation for the rest of their life than any other term, sexual assault. Yeah. The only thing that you could call them, which would be worse, would be pedophiles. Yeah. You know what I mean? Alleged pedophiles.
That's right.
She's saying you have to go out and call them alleged rapists, basically, alleged sexual assaulters, just based on what? A stripper saying that they only paid for 3 slaps on the ass instead of 4?
Yeah.
You have to go out and say alleged sexual assaulters. That's Hannah Ferguson, like, saying that. Like, you have to destroy their reputation, basically, before they've even been charged, before a single scrap of evidence has come to light. Yeah. This woman is just a monster.
Yeah.
She is so evil. I just can't. Everything she says is evil.
And then she's pretty clever. Like, she says you've got to use the word alleged sexual assault as if somehow that then becomes accurate language. What she's doing there is just protecting herself from defamation, while the actual defamatory imputation that you're a rapist, because a lot of people think where there's smoke, there's fire. So when you call a man an alleged when you say that a man is guilty of alleged sexual assault, or he's been accused of alleged sexual assault, or he's been accused of alleged pedophilia, you, in a lot of people's minds, like I would say 9 out of 10, and that you are then getting a trial by media that they're a rapist or a pedophile.
You cannot get past that.
You can't get past that.
Like, you're done. Yeah. Once you have that alleged sexual assault thing attached to your name, you're done. And Hannah Ferguson knows this, and she doesn't care that innocent victims or potentially innocent, looking more and more like innocent victims. Yeah. In fact, now I think it's as much as pretty well 100% guaranteed. She doesn't care that they go down for the rest of their life, because to her it's more important to pursue this political agenda. And by the way, the reason why they use words like incident is because maybe the women are lying and maybe it's not a sexual assault. And in fact, in this case, that's exactly what happened. Yeah. Those women were lying. It was not a sexual assault, because that's not what sexual assault is, which is why the police never actually charged any of these guys. It's not the definition of a sexual assault for someone to pay for 3 butt slaps and do 4. That's not what sexual assault is, Hannah Ferguson. Yeah. So that's why they said incident, because they didn't want to destroy young people's lives for a political agenda, which is what you are always happy to do, because you are a really bad person. Yeah. And by the way, another reason why you don't go out and use sexual assault is because false allegations against men happen all the time. Yeah. All the time.
It's one of the biggest lies that the media perpetuates, which is that, people never make this stuff up. In fact, I think I've heard that coming from Hannah Ferguson's own mouth.
Oh, you would have, yeah.
That we have, and this was the effects of the Me Too movement. We're now in this crazy universe where you just have to believe all women, trust all women, when there's just no evidence to substantiate the assertion that women don't make stuff up too, like men and women lie.
So even the Australian Institute of Criminology, which is like, this is a figure that's often cited. They say, well, actually, you have to believe all women because only 2 to 5% of rape allegations are actually false.
Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting when you look into that actual statistic because the way that they calculate that is completely fraudulent.
Yeah.
It just is. So that 2 to 5% is situations where a woman has made an allegation against a man of sexual assault. That goes to the police. The man is charged. He is put on trial.
Yeah.
And then during the course of that trial, at some point, evidence comes to light that proves that the woman is lying. Mm-hmm. So there is a positive proof that she's lying. Or she straightforwardly confesses, I was lying. I actually made the whole thing up. That's that 2 to 5%. Now, what that doesn't include is the cases where a woman comes to the police with an allegation and then the police don't pursue it because there's no evidence. So it looks like the woman is lying or there's just not enough proof to which is not always the case that she's lying, but in a number of cases you assume it would be, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. If 2 to 5% that make it to trial end up to be lies, then the ones that don't even make it at all, of course a bunch of them are lies. You know what I mean?
Well, the hurdle for prosecutors to take something forward is high. So if even after they've met
of the
that,
false ones,
even after they've met that, you've still got positive proof that people have lied and that comes out in court. That speaks to the fact that you're going to have far more made up and unsubstantiated or exaggerated allegations prior to the prosecutors meeting that hurdle.
Yeah, so like that 2 to 5%, let's just call it 5% because we're dealing with a dishonest organisation here. So I'm assuming they're just cooking it like to make it the lower end of that range. But let's just say it's like 5%. And then that's only the ones that make it to trial and there's a positive proof of the woman lying. So what? We could at least times it by 10%. Maybe three times it, 15, 20%, who knows?
But this is why the presumption of innocence is so important because so we don't think that the Swans guys did the right thing, but I do think they are currently...
That's not even the point.
No, but they are currently victims of a media and social media pylon by leftists who are using them as pawns to take on like masculinity, in my opinion. Like I think part of this is about the fact that our culture and society, we really look up to these men. We love the sport that they play. Like we love the AFL. And for leftists, they hate that.
Well, they have committed a crime, if I'm being honest with you. They're white and they're male.
Yeah.
And that's the actual crime. Because you ask what was the crime they committed? No one can get their story straight. Oh, they were out late. Oh, they had girlfriends. Oh, there was drugs involved. Oh, they made a ruckus and disturbed their teammates. It's like, well, no one actually knows what they did wrong. I'm telling you what they did wrong. They got strippers in the room, okay? That's the wrong part. But no one's allowed to say that because you have to be pro-stripper. You have to be pro-prostitute.
Well, Hannah Ferguson publishes articles on a platform that are pro-prostitution all the time. Like that is that. And look at this post from, this woman who this went to 50,000 likes, which on Instagram is a huge amount for a small account. But this woman writes, mind you, most of these men are engaged or are beautiful, loving women and partners waiting for them at home. Why are we putting men on a pedestal who think ordering strippers in their hotel rooms while they're in a relationship and engaged is acceptable behaviour? Regardless of whether the incident happened or not, the concept alone of men with partners at home getting strippers sent to their hotel room is disgusting to me. It says a lot about someone's character, morals, and the level of respect they have for their relationship. Yet people will bend over backwards to excuse shitty behaviour because these men can kick a fucking ball around a field. Being good at footy doesn't make someone a good person. Stop worshipping men to the point where you'll defend behaviour you'd absolutely condemn if it were your own partner doing it. This is exactly what I hate about certain parts of footy culture, the ego, entitlement and boys club mentality. Disrespectful, insecure, losers. How embarrassing. It's not the club's fault, it's men.
And I wish that I had that woman.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like Callista Cutt is a right-wing influencer. She's liked that. Like it's really interesting how this issue, there are so many people on the right who aren't awake to what's actually going on here.
Yeah, they're clueless. They got no idea what the hell's actually going on. I would love to actually have this has got 50,000 likes, by the way, by Ellie M. Hudson. I would love to ask Ellie M. Hudson a question. Ellie, can you tell me, are you opposed to strippers, like sex work? Oh, no. Can you imagine? Like, you think sex work is fundamentally immoral?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't say it's immoral. I just think it's wrong for men with partners to do it. Oh, okay. So if they got the consent of their partner, if they're in an open relationship, say, and their girlfriends have no problem, in fact, their wives and girlfriends actually have male escorts that come to do strip shows at their hens nights, say, would that be really disgusting as well? Oh, no, I didn't say that was disgusting. Okay, so what exactly are you saying, Ellie?
Yeah.
Because as far as I can tell, you're totally chill with people having open relationships, doing whatever the hell they want sexually, and you're also totally cool with the sex, like prostitution. So what is your problem exactly? And then you've got all these leftists agreeing with this stuff and going, yeah, that's right, it's disgusting. And then you ask them, so do you think that open relationships are immoral? Oh, no. Get your rosaries off my ovaries. How could you say that they're immoral?
Yeah.
It's like these people are such gaslighters.
Yeah.
They're such freaking gaslighters.
Well, look at this in the comments, because it sort of comes out in the comments that she has no idea what she actually means, because someone writes, strippers are awesome, and if people want to book them, that's 100% okay. It's not booking strippers that are the problem. It's the way these men are going about it. That's the issues, along with their actions entirely with the whole situation. And Ellie Hudson writes, I do agree with this if the said men involved were single. And then Kim Angel says, just because the girl or girls involved were allegedly exotic dancers does not give anyone the right to touch them inappropriately. They should feel safe doing their job. These footballers think they're untouchable, to which Ellie Hudson replies, I agree.
So Ellie Hudson is just completely confused about everything in the world.
Because
she doesn't know, she doesn't understand morality
because
at all.
According to this worldview, the extra butt slap isn't just theft, it's actually sexual assault, which, you know, if this was work, if prostitution was work, just like any other work, that would mean when I go through Woolies and I grab a pile of grapes and I intend to go to the checkout, but I eat a whole bunch along the way, or I go to Hoyt's and I get extra popcorn when I'm doing my self-serve and I eat heaps and then I put more in my bucket, which I'm sure other people have done, it's not just me. I am guilty of something really egregious. The reason the extra butt slap these people think is so bad is because prostitution and the sale of women's bodies is not just the sale of a service or work just like any other work. They all intuitively know it, but just like Hannah Ferguson, they can't admit it.
No, sorry. Just and this idiot, Ellie M. Hudson, by the way, I do agree with this. I'm really into strippers too, as long as the said men involved were single. Ellie, who do you think goes to see strippers?
Yeah.
Like, who do you think books prostitutes? You think they're a bunch of young, there's just, you go into a strip club and it's all just young single men. Are you an idiot? Like, it's married men. That's like married men and men in relationships. It's not like you walk into a strip club, you're like, oh, this is a good way to meet young singles.
Yeah.
Like, what?
But you know what I think? I think it's when we have lost our morality as a society, like when you can kill a baby right up until birth, when you can kill yourself if you're depressed, and that's apparently voluntary assisted dying, or when you've got legalised prostitution and stripping and all of it, like anything is okay unless you consent to it. Right? You've got drag queen story hour. Like, we've lost our Christian foundations and morality. And so these people then tie themselves into knots. Like, look at this.
Well, something happens that's wrong and you know it's wrong, but you can't say why it's wrong.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? Because you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to say it's wrong just because strippers are bad. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, look at this guy on Sunrise. Like, he's just tying himself into knots.
Just culturally, just to pick up on that though, so you've got the coach, the senior coach, out till after midnight, after a match. Culturally, that's not good enough.
Well, I think that'll be the question from their board in the sense that...
What are your thoughts on that? Where do you stand on that? If a senior coach is out there sort of hitting the streets beyond midnight after an away game like that?
Look, I think he's entitled to go and enjoy dinner or whatever and have a few beers and the like, but...
It's so funny. What if a senior coach is out after midnight? It's like, I think the world will keep on turning, buddy.
And the lack of specificity that people have around this actually has far-reaching implications. These five men are elite athletes who have spent their entire lives presumably gearing up, and they want to win the premiership. They've been working super hard, so have their teams. And because of the media pile-on, which is arising from a leftist agenda, a sinister leftist agenda that we're actually going to get to at the end of this episode, they now can't play the next 5 games because the Sydney Swans has bent the knee. They bent the knee to the left. And this is the same AFL, the AFL system, which is just so incredibly woke that it allows 6'3" men to play in the women's league because, again, they bend the knee to the left. because
Yeah.
people like Hannah Ferguson and the Governor General is the head of Equality Australia, all of them think a man can be a woman.
Well, and because the AFL has gone woke.
Yeah.
And they say go woke, go broke. This is why.
Yeah.
Because once you become woke, then the left owns you, and they can, if they tell you grovel at my feet, then you have to grovel at their feet. If they say fire those men, you have to fire those men. You cease to have any power, and you just become just like a lapdog for the radical woke left, and that's what the AFL has done. And now it's why they, instead of actually articulating what these men did and standing by them and offering them some support in what is clearly like a time when, really, if I'm being honest with you, what these guys did, I think it was disgusting, but these people shouldn't. None of these people have any right to criticize these young guys. Someone like Hannah Ferguson, or, you know, people on the left who are really radically into prostitution and strippers and open relationships, and they don't give a shit about any of that stuff. They have no right to criticize these guys. On what grounds exactly?
Yeah, you've got
like there's a payment dispute. As far as I can tell, the only thing that they could point to is like there's a payment dispute.
Yeah. You've got the tabloids like the Daily Telly and the Herald Sun all jumping on when they're always going on about OnlyFans as if it's somehow empowering to women, and they'll do puff pieces on women who are in OnlyFans. But see, the Sydney Swans now, what they've said is the club believes the players are in serious breach of expected club behaviour and standards, and it is appropriate to take firm action and highlight that any sanction we impose relates solely to those breaches. So is it against...
What breaches? See, once again, you just don't like it. They did it, okay?
It just was like a massive gaslight of these young men. Like, were they explicitly told you can't go to strip clubs, you can't have prostitutes, you can't cheat on your girlfriends?
You can't. It's not allowed because all of those things are in on the left.
Yeah.
Prostitutes are great. Strip clubs are great. Cheating on your girlfriend's great.
Well,
because
it also happens and you don't get suspended for it.
Well, there's two things. Cheating on your girlfriend is awesome if you're in an open relationship. That's empowering and progressive and modern and, you know, enlightened, right?
Yeah.
But then also... if people, like, let's just say there was a scandal, you know, an AFL football player came out that he had an affair. You think he's getting sacked from the game?
No.
That's not what they got sacked for either. So no one knows why they got sacked.
Well, the Sunrise guy had to go. Was it that they stayed up too late?
They stayed up late. They were up past midnight. Maybe that's why they got sacked. You watch report after report after report, no one can actually say what it is
So
that they did.
How does this go now? Like, if they're now going to have like training for the AFL players, do you reckon like one bloke puts up his hand, he's like, so are we or are we not allowed to go to strip clubs? Like, how does that go?
No, well, the guy, he'll be like, so just want to say I am really like glad that we're able to observe what happened to the Sydney Swans because now we know that strippers are terrible. We're not allowed to go to strip clubs. Oh, no. No, like sex work is empowering for women. Sex work is very is just real work like any other type of work. Oh, so we are allowed to go to strip clubs. That's good. All right. Well, I'll book that in with the boys for the week. Oh, well, actually, we need to be understand the informal guidelines of the club and that violence against women is never tolerated. Oh, so we're not allowed to go to strip clubs. Oh, no, you are allowed to go. I mean, strip clubs are very noble institutions and sex work is real. Oh, so we're not. Oh, well, I didn't say you weren't. You know, like it's like the entire thing makes no sense because none of these people have a belief system that allows them to just call a spade, which is to say, paying a woman to use her body is disgusting.
Yeah.
And everyone's outraged because it's disgusting. I can call a spade because I actually have a congruent belief system.
Yeah.
None of these people can do that.
None of these people do. I actually have personal experience with this, not the stripping, but just the writing about it.
Glad
Wanted to
it.
clarify. But as an academic, I've written submissions to government about why prostitution can't be called sex work and treated like just any other work. It shouldn't be decriminalised. It's inherently exploitative to women. Now, I have been trolled and was subjected to complaint after complaint by leftist activists, including like the longest investigation that I had to go through, 6 months, because a bunch of like pro-sex work activists tried to get me sacked on this. You know,
Yeah.
I think
The left is almost even more vicious against you if you oppose prostitution as if you oppose abortion.
Yeah.
Possibly more.
possibly like Leah Marone, president of the Australian Women's Lawyers Association, like a full-on adherent to pro-prostitution, tweeting and trolling my law school's Twitter feed because of my work against for criminalising prostitution.
Yeah, they love prostitution.
They love it. And you know, like these people, so they're going about the women being victims. You're not allowed to talk about these men who have basically had their lives ruined for something that the left can't even admit is wrong. And you've got these journalists who are using this to virtue signal about how much they are caring for the woman at this time. Like, look at this ridiculous post that Rebecca Powell from Channel 10 put up. It's 4 clips of her saying essentially the same thing, and she's just so proud of it. Take a look.
There is, of course, a woman who is at the centre of these allegations, and tonight we hope that she's getting all the support that she needs. Tiff?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Beck.
There is a woman at the centre of these allegations who witnesses say they saw distressed in the lobby. We certainly hope that tonight she is getting support and care that she needs. Jade? However, I think the more important question tonight at the centre of all this is how that woman is faring. There is a woman at the centre of these allegations who, as I mentioned, witnesses described seeing hysterical in the lobby. We hope tonight that she's getting all the support that she needs. Sharon?
All right, Beck, thank you. Rebecca Powell there.
So that's she literally filmed herself doing that 3 times.
And then she wrote like a little description about how amazing it was.
Yeah, there's a woman at the centre of this who normally charges $80 for 4 butt slaps, except the person only paid her $60 for those 4.
Doesn't sound as good.
What?
But the reason
It's so
this
insane.
is so serious is that men can have their lives destroyed. You know, like we've seen this time and time again, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
so
for
like,
men.
yeah, that's exactly right. So like,
This is
what these people will say to you is, we need to use the word sexual assault allegation because we have here a potential sexual assault. And it's like, no, we need to use the word incident, you absolute psychopath, because what we have here is a potential false allegation, okay? And when a false allegation is made against a man, invariably his life is basically ruined forever.
Yeah.
Now, this happens inside and out of sport. Now, I'm not saying that men don't rape women. Of course they do. Like, yeah, that's really not what this is about.
and it goes without saying.
I mean, come on. Anyway, look, I don't. To be honest, I don't even like making disclaimers like that because
It's just like
it's
it feels
just
a bit
like
you're bending the knee.
as like a full like thinking non-retarded adult human. Obviously, I know that rape occurs and too often, and men should be put in jail for life, as far as I'm concerned. Who else should be put in jail for life? Whatever the prosecution, whatever the sentence is for conviction of rape should also be extended to women who make false allegations against men, because this is something that is happening all the time. Now, why do I say that? Well, if I ask someone like Hannah Ferguson, what's worse, rape or a false allegation of rape? She's going to say
rape.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, why is rape wrong? Well, it's wrong.
She's going to say because, you know, it's violating to that woman. It destroys her life. She'll never be able to get past it. The scars of it will be with her forever.
Right. Now, what does a false rape allegation do against a man?
Oh, I think it does the same
Destroys his
thing.
life.
Yeah.
Never be able to get past it. It's humiliating. It's degrading. Okay. He'll never be the same again. And so...
Well, he has a cloud over him his entire life. And if he's innocent, that's just...
Yep.
How do you live with that?
Yeah, that's right. You are basically finished as a person. Now, this happens all the time. So, and in sport as well. Now, sportsmen obviously also do actually sexually assault women, but they also get falsely accused of it, and it happens all the time. So, just by way of example, Matt Araiza was an NFL player for the Buffalo Bills in the US, and he was accused of raping a 17-year-old girl at a party, accused by her. And it went to trial. Now, the Buffalo Bills also were put under intense scrutiny, with everyone going, the Buffalo Bills have been far too slow to act. This does not look good for the Buffalo Bills. This does not look good for them. You know, in this era, you know, to have such little regard for the well-being of this young woman. Went to trial. Turned out this woman was completely lying about the whole thing, and they found positive proof that she was lying. The trial was dismissed. She strolls off into the sunset. No difference to her life. Like, what's happened to her? Nothing. She just kicks on with her life. He, meanwhile, his entire year, kicked off the team, permanent stain attached to his name, He did eventually find his way back into NFL, but will probably never be the same again. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, what consequence is there for the woman? I mean, it's always worthwhile taking a punt for her, right? Because what's the downside? It's the same in Australia. You've got cases all the time. For example, this guy Stephen Black, who was in prison for more than 10 months based on a series of sexual assault allegations made by a 14-year-old girl. But then the complainant gave evidence saying that the guy had a circumcised penis. Yeah. And then they checked it out and it turned out he was uncircumcised. And so they just said, well, you got a very fundamental fact wrong. Yeah. And so he was acquitted and the conviction was reversed. Yeah. And then there's just another case from 2019. This happens all the time. A woman called Caitlin Gray. This is in New South Wales, and she said her car had broken down, and a man who'd stopped to help her had stalked and indecently assaulted her, and he was fired from his job. His wife just divorced him. He was put in custody for a week. Wow. And then the police investigators cross-referenced the timeline of the woman's story with the local CCTV data, and the footage showed that it had never happened. Yeah. She just completely made it up. Yeah. This happens all the time. As I said, they say 2 to 5% are proven to be false, but they're only the ones that make it to trial. Yeah. And then there is positive proof that comes out that they were lying. There's already a sifting process before you get to that point. So a lot of these false allegations have not made it even to that point. So when they give you that data, or no one's making it up, it's less than 2 to 5%, that's cooked data. It's the misuse of data. It's already high. Yeah. It's already high and it's cooked. Yeah. And so when you got someone like Hannah Ferguson saying, you need to say that these boys are guilty of sexual assault allegedly. Yeah. She's just evil. Yeah. I mean, trying to destroy their reputation over what? A rumour? Yeah. What kind of a monster is? The presumption of innocence becomes so important, and you just get these sorts of headlines like men run the AFL and it's time they fixed its dark underbelly from, Angela Pippos. We don't yet know what happened in the hotel room, but at a bare minimum, sexual assault allegation is cited by bringing 2 women back after a night of drinking. The players involved have apparently shown no regard towards their partners, their teammates and the AFW team. Like, I just find this whole confected outrage just so we don't know anything about what's happened. But, they're saying men run the AFL. It's time we fixed its dark underbelly. Well, what's the dark underbelly here? The dark underbelly is that men run the AFL. Yeah, and that's what's really going on here. Yeah, it's because leftists don't like elite sport with white men. So, for example, you've got this, and don't you love the left-wing men who love to jump on this bandwagon to show how, pro-woman they are? So you've got Brandon Jack, who used to play for the Swans, and he's written, I do not have 1 ounce of care for the impact this will have on the Swans season or anything football related. This is a game that involves chasing a ball around an oval that is propped up by a business machine to mean more than it ever should. Wow. Yeah. Brandon, you're so noble, so honourable, pulling the ladder up after you now that you've had your career and it's finished. No one else gets to have theirs now, apparently, because all of a sudden now it's just a silly game where people chase a ball. Why would people bother with such a thing? Now that you've retired, you've had your time in the sun, time to pull the ladder up after your son. Yeah. So what's this really about? Well, I think when we show you the ABC clip that we're about to show you next, you'll see, because in this conversation between an ABC journalist and what's his name? It's Matthew Klugman, like an academic expert. You'll see that can't wait to hear from him. They say the quiet part out loud. Let's listen.
What is at issue are the attitudes and forms of entitlement that lead to sexual assault, that lead to violence against women. And that's where the work needs to be.
Do you think that has been shifting at all, and what needs to change now?
The heart of it is the culture of these sports. These sports in these lands emerged as a way of turning white boys into white men, and they remain considered the province of white men. And we continue to see that in terms of who runs them, who commentates on them, who makes the most money out of them as a rule. And that culture is incredibly resistant, incredibly defensive.
Yeah, so basically he's saying the reason why strippers were in a room with men, which I'm guessing this guy also is totally chill with. So I don't know exactly what, in his perspective, was the terrible thing that happened. But anyway, whatever. The reason why that happened is because women AFL players are not paid as much as male AFL players.
So this comes down to gender equity. I feel like that has been such a key component of the Albanese government's platform, and of the leftist agenda, because they've been pushing this for a very long time about this epidemic of sexual violence.
Yeah. And I think really what they do is they say the quiet part out loud there, because that really is what's going on here. What they cannot stand is the fact that men and women are that there is still a male-dominated space.
Yeah.
That is what cannot be allowed to occur.
Yeah.
But might I just point out that AFL women's, the reason why they're not paid as much as men is because AFL women's loses $50 million every single year.
Yeah, it's literally not a profit-making business, is it?
It is a massive money hole that they throw $50 million a year into, whilst men's AFL has a revenue of $1.2 billion.
Yeah.
Women's is minus $50 million
Now, just
every
to
year.
play devil's advocate, someone like Hannah Ferguson would say, well, that's the patriarchy at work.
No, it's
that's because we don't, she would say the same thing about so boys play with trucks because it's social conditioning. The reason no one watches AFLW is because it's the patriarchy at work. We've been told that women's sport is less entertaining, less valuable.
The reason why no one watches AFLW is because they play like children. That's why. If I want to see primary school level football, I'll go watch one of my kids play, and at least one of my children will be in there, so it'll be somewhat entertaining. That's why people don't watch women's AFL, because they are really bad at it. They suck. It's a waste of time. To be honest with you, the fact that they get paid at all is the real outrage. They shouldn't be getting paid. They should be volunteering. There's a lot of men who play football without getting paid in this country. You get paid if you're actually making money.
Yeah.
These women don't do nothing but lose money. They shouldn't get paid. If they want to play football, go nuts. Knock yourself out. But why should you get paid when your league loses $50 million a year?
Why should the men subsidise your league? Well, it's only because the AFL, once again, bends the knee to the leftist establishment.
Because they're woke as shit, and it's never enough.
They've got a Pride round, they've got AFLW, and now we've got all this browbeating over the fact that, how could the men have done this to the women in the AFL?
It's never enough. You can never bend the knee enough. And by the way, all of this, we go to this men's mental health thing once a year because one of Joe's friends, Sarah Game, who is a lovely MP, she's really passionate about this. But when we go every year, I just want to kill everyone because it's so frustrating.
That was metaphorical, by the way. Just don't see that as a violent act that James...
No, I want to do actual violence, but I won't. It's not a threat. It's just a feeling. I can't help that. Because all of the speeches are men need to just get up off their chair, swallow their pride, and just start talking about their feelings. That's what'll stop them from killing themselves. They just need to act like women. Women talk about their feelings. If men just talked about their feelings, they wouldn't kill themselves. So it's their fault, basically. That's the message. And I'm like, it's not because they don't talk about their feelings. It's because you people attack every men's space that exists and insist that it cannot exist. The AFL, it needs to be made. We need equal representation of women in the AFL.
Yeah. We need them in the coaching levels. We need them in the commentary box. We need them in the sport
We need them
itself.
talking about, in the commentary box, like women have any role in the commentary box. It's a men's sport. Why do they need women commentators?
We need them in the leadership of the club. We need them on the boards. There's...
Any kind of male identity, anything that gives them a sense of having a unique identity, a unique contribution to the world has to be attacked and tackled and taken down and dismantled and filled with women. And by the way, men are 233% more likely to kill themselves than women.
Yeah.
So these same people who will be like, trans rights and human rights, they're all going to kill themselves. Where does their concern about suicide?
Yeah.
Where is that when they're talking about men? It's just white men are evil. White men are also dramatically more likely to commit suicide.
We're just gaslighting men all over the place. We're saying, you can't go to strip clubs.
No, you can go to strip clubs are great. Basically, prostitution is amazing. It's powerful. It's just expression. And then a man tries to go to one and it's like, you are worse than a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You are filth on the bottom of my shoe.
Yeah.
It's just beyond. It's just gaslighting constantly. It's disgusting.
So back to our so-called expert, Dr. Klugman on the ABC.
The violence against women at the moment, the number of women who've been killed by current or former partners who are men this year is staggering. So there's a cultural problem which sport is at the heart of, but it's also significantly broader than sport. But yeah, sport is a key place where you could intervene, where actually, for the AFL, they could treat the women's league like they treat the men's league. As long a season, the women getting much more money, on par, all of these kinds of things. But they've always got arguments against that. And at the same time, they're willing to lose millions and millions of dollars supporting men's teams for broader cultural reasons.
So I think really what he's doing there, he really is saying the quiet part out loud. Men's sport is at the heart of violence against women, women being killed by their partners. Sport is at the heart of that.
Massive leap.
Because women don't get paid as much.
Yeah.
And so really what you're seeing here is what's actually going down.
Yeah.
This is not anything to do with what they are saying it is about. They love prostitutes. They got no problem with that. They don't care about open relationships or people doing sexual stuff outside of their marriage. They couldn't give a shit. In fact, they love that too. And they say that people who do that are brave. And, like, gosh, look at Jada Pinkett Smith, on that podcast, just like neutering her husband on a live podcast, talking about how she just had to do what feels good for her by sleeping with like a younger man. And Will Smith's just like, yeah, you go, baby. And everyone's like, that's so beautiful. Yeah. No one has a problem with it. Yeah. So they don't care about the prostitutes. They don't care about the cheating. They don't care about being up late. Like, give me a break. Why? The reason why they are doing this, the only thing they care about is the fact that these are white men.
Yeah.
That's what's going on here.
And you can see it in the policy prescriptions online. So this is from It's Harry James. Again, 18K likes. And he's written enough statements. Here's what the AFL can do to actually challenge violence against women. 1, stop treating footballers like gods. These people don't like the fact that in this country, AFL is like the sport that people love to watch. It stops the nation. The elite footballers are loved by people, but so is Kathy Freeman. We do rock climbing. Like, our kids are really into rock climbing, and there's this woman, elite climber called Yanya, who has won World Cup after World Cup after World Cup. She's treated like a god.
Like Dawn Fraser.
Yeah.
Or Taylor Swift. Do you reckon this guy's going to do a carousel about how we should stop treating Taylor Swift like a god?
Or Beyonce. Yeah.
He'd call her like the Queen Bee,
I think Dawn Fraser's been cancelled because she's now on the right, by the way.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah.
At the time, though.
But then think about this, so they've also got, put women in power because that will stop it. Yeah, that will stop it. Stop building unchecked male egos by providing massive $500,000 salaries. Look, if these men attract that crowd because people want to watch it, they should get paid for it. Elite athletes work incredibly hard to be elite athletes. We were just talking about this the other day. One of our sons wants to be an AFL player. And you were making the point that you've known lots of talented young men in AFL, but not one of them's got to that top league.
Yeah, these guys just can't handle they just can't handle merit and capitalism. Yeah. Like, for them, this is just like the AFL just stands against everything they hate. Like, it represents everything they hate. It's merit, right? Because you cannot succeed unless you're actually good at it. It is white, not entirely. Aboriginal men are actually represented at twice what they are in the general population in the AFL, by the way, around about 8% versus 3 to 4%. So
that's just a very inconvenient point when
massively
we're talking about
overrepresented.
white male privilege. They just don't want people to talk about that this week. So we'll just keep that till next week. But look at this as well. Start with the boys. The AFL has enormous influence over Australian men and boys. Use it to dismantle male entitlement, not reproduce it. They could just as easily say, start with the girls and teach them not to become strippers. Like you could say, girls, like, don't,
don't sell your body for money.
Yeah. And don't, don't go topless and expect to be respected, Like, I think that's a pretty basic principle.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you lose all your social mores, like your morality, you then start putting together lists like this, which actually make
and you actually
no
become
sense.
more prudish. It's funny because they would say, "Oh, you guys believe in no sex before marriage," and you're like, "You don't believe in this and that. Wow, you Christians are so prudish." It's like, yeah, but we're not like melting down because a coach stayed up past midnight. Ooh, past midnight. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny how culture, the society actually becomes more prudish, more ridiculous, and more sort of neutered and constrained than it's ever been when it tries to be liberated. Yeah. It just doesn't work.
And the reason we know this is just actually quite a sinister agenda to take down men. And to prop up, once again, leftist ideology that is no doubt going to push for policy prescriptions out of this, is because there is such a double standard. So if you think about Anthony Albanese talking about the breasts of the Japanese Prime Minister, that hasn't even been reported in the leftist press. But if that had been Scott Morrison or Peter Dutton or Angus Taylor, that would have been front page news for weeks in the Sydney Morning Herald, headline after headline, talking about the misogyny.
If that had been an AFL player, he probably would have been sacked from the team for the rest of the season. And I'm not even joking. It probably would have been the end of his career.
Yeah.
And the Prime Minister says it, and just because he's on the left, no one even notices that it happened.
Yeah.
It's insane. These people are shameless.
Well, it's like the difference between when Bill Shorten on the left gets accused of rape and Christian Porter from the right and the Liberals gets accused of rape.
Most people wouldn't even know that Bill Shorten was ever even accused of rape.
No, the media...
Because no one gave a damn.
So the media didn't report his name. They did not report on it until it was actually cleared. And there was a few online references, but it was off socials, it was off the mainstream media. In contrast with Christian Porter. So both allegations were about these men before they became powerful men. They were historic allegations, 30 years old, involving a 16-year-old girl. But in Christian Porter's case, he was 17. The media reported it like it was a cabinet minister sexually abusing a 16-year-old girl. When he was actually 17, she was 16. And there was no concrete evidence. This was a historical allegation, but story after story in the media was talking about the Morrison government's women problems. And Christian Porter pleaded for the same respect that Bill Shorten was given. Did they give it? No, they didn't. And this is telling. In Chip Legrand in The Age, he wrote this, and he quotes a former newspaper editor. So he says, Michael Gawenda, a respected former editor of The Age, is also troubled. He says there is a lack of care in much of the reporting about Porter and questions why important facts, such as Porter being only 17 at the time of the alleged rape, were downplayed or omitted. The reporting keeps referring to her being 16 and him being a cabinet minister. The fact is they were two...
So shameless.
Yeah, the fact is they were two school kids. Isn't that relevant information?
So shameless.
Isn't that relevant information? Why hasn't that been made clear throughout all the reporting? Everyone, not just journalists, have accepted this mantra that victims have to be believed.
Mr. Porter, why did you sleep with a 16-year-old girl? Because I was 17 at the time.
Once you cross that Rubicon, there doesn't even need to be a court case. The decision has been made. I think that is a huge problem. What has happened with Porter shows this is not where we can stay. Now, he wrote that in 2021, and look at where we are now in 2026. Like, this has to be a wake-up call for all of us this week, because these 5 men now have had their characters and reputation completely assassinated. They did the wrong thing. We think they did the wrong thing because we are against prostitution.
Yeah,
we are against stripping.
Say, if anyone is saying to themselves, oh, but I actually think they did the wrong thing and I want to be able to say that, say it, but say why you think they did the wrong thing. Don't just say it. It was terrible. It is not acceptable. No, what was terrible, okay? It wasn't the 4th slap, okay? It was the first 3 as well.
All of it is sexual assault, but if that is your perspective, then you also have to say that sex work is not work like any other.
And it is wrong. It's immoral and it should be abolished. If you can't say that, keep your mouth shut. You have no right to comment on this. If you don't think prostitution is wrong, shut your mouth. You have no opinion on this.
Yeah, because you are just gaslighting men all over the country who have literally zero idea how to get their head around this. Because on the one hand, you're going on about this epidemic of violence against women, and on the other hand, you support an industry that is literally built and underpinned by violence against women. It makes zero sense.
Whether you're paying for the slap or not.
Yes. Just
For
to be
fuck's sake.
clear,
I just don't think it should be that complicated.
Yeah. So all of this to say, please use your brain when engaging with the mainstream media on this. Like, right-wing influencers who are jumping on this and supporting all of these leftist meltdowns over the Swans players. Use your brain. What is going on here? What are they trying to push? And let's have some consistency around the way that we actually base our values as a society.
Yeah, and don't just jump on what is clearly an orchestrated hit job.
Yeah.
Okay? Just don't do that.
Yeah.
Sit back, watch, see what happens, and then if you really feel like you need to say something, say something. Okay? Because what's going on right now is just clearly what you see. What you think is happening is not what's happening. This is a political maneuver.
Yeah, and we'll be the first to say, if it emerges, if we get concrete evidence to say that one of these women was raped, then
Which we won't.
But if it did happen, and the reason we won't get that is because we would have got that by now, and these boys would be arrested,
and they have been scraping the bottom of the barrel to try and think of everything they can. The fact that they came forth with that butt slap thing, that's the proof I need to know that they were not raped.
Yeah, okay.
There was no sexual assault that happened. That whole thing is a complete lie.
And that's why, unlike, the edict of feminazi Hannah Ferguson, we should be referring to this as an incident or a scandal, not a sexual assault allegation.
Because it wasn't one. That would be a lie. That would ruin someone's reputation. That would be a false and malicious rumour, or a word that Hannah Ferguson really likes to use, disinformation.
Yeah, that's
okay. A word she likes to use, when she's talking about why we need to shut down social media, except the person who spreads more of it than just about anyone else in the country is Hannah Ferguson.
Yeah.
She is a venerable disinformation machine.
And the left even gives her
You should have seen some of the stuff she was saying about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
That he said that black women were not as intelligent. I mean, it's just completely lying about him.
Yeah. And she's given a platform by the leftist establishment, the National Press Club. She's on the ABC, SBS all the time because that's who these people are. So if you got to the end of this episode, please do follow along and subscribe to our channel. Leave us a comment to tell us what you think. It's obviously not a topic we thought we'd cover ever, and it's unusual for us. But we do want to hold the culture and the media to account. That's essentially what this platform, this show is about. Tell us what you think, and we'll see you next time on The Dr. Joe Show.